The call to help our four-legged friends sometimes takes us to places you'd least expect. Over the summer, a team of faculty, staff, alumni, and students from the College of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Illinois volunteered their time and services to help homeless animals in Greece. Coming up, we'll hear more about this service trip and mission to help a country struggling to control its homeless animal population. Stay with us.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Paw Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Paw Report. I am your host, Kelly Goodwin, and today we are joined by Dr. Loukia Agapis. She is a veterinarian with the University of Illinois College of Veterinary Medicine. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And today's topic is rather unique in that as a vet, you spend lots of time in the office, in the lab, doing work on animals, but sometimes that work takes you out of the office, and in this case, out of the country. You have a very special connection to Greece and recently took a service trip to Greece to help our four-legged friends. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, I guess I should begin by saying that we went to the island of Rhodes, and it's fabulous, and the reason I say that is because my entire family is from there.
So there is even more of a connection.
There is a very strong connection. I visit every summer to the island, and a few years ago, I found out that they have a large municipal shelter, so I decided to wander over there. I was at the beach, and I went. And what I saw was really, really heartbreaking. I saw a lot of people that were there volunteering, great people. They just did not have the means and the education to do what they wanted to do for these animals. So I gave them some advice. The next summer I went, I gave them more advice. I started to email them back and forth. And one day I went and I said, you know, I come here, I brought all my things. I'm not just going to give you advice. I'm going to get dirty. So I spent 10 out of my 14-day vacation last summer working with those people. And they told me, if you can, come back. And I told them, okay. So I put on my Facebook account a few pictures. And I said, if anyone wants to join me next summer, please do. And instantly, I get messages back, I want to go with you. I want to go with you. And I walked into office the next day, and one of my colleagues, Dr. Helen Valentine, goes to me, I think we should arrange a trip to Greece. And we did. And this year we had 5 veterinarians, 1 veterinary nurse, and 13 students from the University of Illinois. And we all went there for 2 weeks and did amazing things.
What did you do?
Anything that they needed, we did surgeries, we did spays and neuters, mass tumor removals. If there were sick animals, we provided treatments. We had one suitcase with us that was full of antibiotics and other medications. So our little mobile pharmacy, we would take it all around the shelter or the different rescues that we also got to visit other rescues. And if there was a sick animal, we would treat it. If there were animals that needed vaccines to be dewormed, if they just needed to go for a walk, the students would do that. And it was amazing. They helped over 500 animals in 2 weeks.
How serious is the problem there? And is the problem more on overpopulation? Is it lack of vets there? Or is it a rabies issue? I mean, it could be a mixture of all of that.
It definitely could. Right now, Greece has been going through roughly a 10-year economic crisis. prior to this crisis, you brought up rabies, which is really interesting. Greece was rabies free. Despite all our surrounding countries having rabies, Greece did everything in its powers to protect its borders and not to have it go in, because as you know, it's also a zoonotic disease, meaning we could get it as well. So Greece had very, very strong measures, but once the economic crisis started, these measures kind of declined. So we saw in the wildlife rabies cases occurring. So then, because we have a large stray animal population, we were worried, well, if this gets to the dogs and cats that are wandering around, what's going to happen to our people? And to top that, we have a refugee crisis that has started. So the war in Syria and all that's going on in the Middle East, we have families by the thousands coming into Greece and Italy especially for seeking a better life. So we're trying to not only protect the Greeks that are in the country, we have the tourists coming into the country, and we have these people that are on the streets that are trying to find a way to work when they've come from war-torn countries, and it's just been one big mess. So it was really an ideal time for us to set this program up.
Mm-hmm. And you said how many in the team went with you?
It was
this
5
summer?
veterinarians and 13 students.
Talk about the learning experience for those students. Were they first-year vet students?
We had first-year students, second-year students, third-year students, and 1 fourth-year student. And it was amazing because even if they were first-year students, they had the opportunity to do surgeries with us, which is something that they would not have the opportunity here. First year and second year, they're more theoretical classes. You could observe other things, but not as much hands-on when they're at the college. So these students had the opportunity to just dive right in and do what we were telling them. So it was absolutely fantastic for them.
How do their shelters in Greece compare to shelters? You know, you're part of the shelter medicine program at the University of Illinois. You see a lot.
Yes.
Comparisons.
Well, here we have structured buildings, we have personnel that actually get paid, and we have large volunteer groups that go in to help homeless animals. In Greece, we do not have that. It's usually one person or a few people, a handful of people that say, okay, we're going to take these homeless animals in, but they don't have the money to build a true shelter in the way that we have here. So you will not go into a building where they have kennels. It will just be maybe an open area with a fence around them, and they just put as many animals as they could in there, unfortunately.
Did you encounter many problems when you were over there?
The funniest problem that we had here in Illinois and in the U.S. in general, when we're talking about homeless animals and shelter systems, we really push to get these animals out of the shelter as quickly as possible into a forever home. And one of the ways that we found we could do that is by giving kind of motives. If we tell future adopters, we're going to spay and neuter them, we are going to deworm them, we are going to vaccinate them, adopters are like, great, I get my new pet, this pet is wonderful, and I have all these going for me. In Greece, they do not do that. And it was interesting, we tried to spay and neuter pediatric patients, and the culture was very against it. We saw animals that really, the only humane thing to do for them was unfortunately to euthanize them. They were so debilitated, and they were, because the culture was different, they did not want to euthanize. Even if that animal was suffering, they felt it was worse to just euthanize. So there were definitely cultural differences that we encountered, and the best way to come up against that is to just show them what research shows, what our experience have shown, and just try to educate the people in what the best practices are.
How does your work, so you were there for almost 2 weeks, how do you make sure that the work that you did in that period of time doesn't end when you leave or pick up again when you go back in a year, that
Yep.
when you walked out of those doors with your team over the summer, how do you work to make sure that your mission continues?
That was something that we thought about extensively before we even went, because I had prior knowledge and communication with the shelter workers. That is something that I felt I always had trouble with. Once I left, what will happen to these animals? So we actually asked for donations, and one of the items that we had donated was a computer, which for us, having a laptop is really not a big deal, but giving them a laptop became a big deal because we were able to put into this computer all the shelter animals, say what treatments we given, say what is needed, and at what date they should be doing this. So we know, at least for the next few months, what's going to happen. And because they now have access to this computer, we have better online communication so we could keep up with those animals.
I understand your passion on this subject. You light up when you talk about it. So I assume that there are future missions hopefully planned.
Yes.
Is that something in the works? And maybe looking down the road, now that you've experienced firsthand, what would you like to do or change or add or grow?
We will definitely do more mission trips to Greece and really any other country that would like us to be there. In order to make it grow, honestly, just the passion of the students. It's really, they're the ones that are doing all the woodwork, let's say. So as long as we have students that are willing to go, as long as we have people that are willing to make a few donations. It was interesting. We saw people that just had one deworming pill. They called us up and say, I only have this one pill, do you want it? And we would say, yes, great, thank you. So as long as the will of the people in the community is behind us, we could do amazing things anywhere.
Did you learn things on your mission trip that might help you to develop the shelter medicine program at the University of Illinois?
Yes, because even though we're talking about different countries, at the end of the day, we are talking about homeless animals, and the homeless animal needs are the same here, there, or anywhere else. They need love, they need medical care, they need a home. So I was able to see how those people were trying to advocate for these animals at a time when Greece has very, very few funds. So most people, when they're struggling to feed their own families, they're not going to take in a pet. They can't afford it. So it's interesting to see how the shelter was trying to promote adoptions and what programs they would set up. And just seeing how they worked with no resources, I feel that if they could do it there, we could definitely do it here in Illinois, where we have so much opportunity, even with all the hardships that we see in Illinois today, because it's not just Greece that went through an economic crisis. We've definitely felt things here as well. But just if you see just the rock bottom, if you're even just a few inches ahead of that, we could grow here as well.
And maybe if somebody is watching and would like to speak to you about your trip, or maybe how they can get involved and help, is the best way to contact you through the shelter medicine program. Your website is very informational.
We have the shelter medicine website, and they're more than welcome to contact us through there. And there's also a separate international programs website. So if they Google international programs, veterinary medicine at Illinois, they will find my information, my email, and I'd be happy to talk to them about anything they need.
Great. Dr. Loukia Agapis from the University of Illinois, thank you for sharing information on your missionary trip to Greece with a team of doctors and students to help the homeless animals or the sick animals overseas. And hopefully your studies and your missions will take you to other places as well to continue your wonderful work.
I hope so too.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you for joining us for this episode of the Paw Report. We'll be back right after this. If you're a veterinarian, trainer, groomer, specialist, rescue organization, or shelter that would like to partner with the Paw Report by providing expert guests for the show, please contact us by emailing weiu@weiu.net or call 217-581-5956. If you have a topic you'd like to see on the show or questions for our experts, contact us with those too. And in this Paw Report Extra, we've got Dr. Foote with us again today, Dr. Sally Foote from the Loukia Vet Clinic up in Tuscola, along with her pal Ranger. And we've got a few tips and techniques when it comes to grooming your cat. You know, yeah, grooming your cat. You know, we always talk about our dogs. Yeah. You know, that's kind of a, when you think of grooming your pet, dogs come to mind instantly. But there are some things that we need to think about with our cats, things that we can do at home.
Sure. So certainly both short-haired and long-haired cats, brushing them regularly is a good thing to do. Now, the cat needs to learn to like to be brushed and groomed. And why they don't like it is kittens. We talked about periods of socialization in dogs, you know, on other programs. But when kittens learn to like things they've never experienced before, it's between the ages of 3 weeks and 9 weeks of age. Now they can still keep learning to like, say, having a comb, you know, brush down their coat. But for a kitten, things that move, they want to grab and they want to, you know, grab or pounce on. So usually what happens is you have a client saying, well, she was okay for me to use the comb on until she was about 4 months old. Then she started grabbing at my hand or grabbing at the comb and then fighting it, and I've just given up on it. And then with that, then we may get to have, especially like Ranger now, he's about 13, and he has a pretty dense coat that either A, it's harder for him to lick and groom himself, so then he gets mats, or B, because as it's normal, as cats age, their GI tract slows down, so they can't pass the hair out, so you get more hairballs and vomiting, or you get constipation, and that can actually lead to sometimes, you know, a health problem. So if from the start we have these guys more used to grooming, that will help. And secondly, we have the right tools. So how do we get started? I would start, and I don't have food in front of me, sorry buddy, but get maybe like something really that the kitten or young cat likes, like tuna or a little bit of chicken and a small bit, and I'd make a nice place like on a table, or even if it is on your lap, that's fine. But I would have like a small little, maybe if I was sitting on my couch, I had a little more room, you know, I would put like a little piece of paper towel with just a plop of tuna, and while Ranger's eating, then I would take the comb and I would just stroke down once or twice as he's eating and then stop. And then I would take the food away. So now, then I would wait a second, I'd put the food back, and then I'd brush again. So he learns when the comb comes out, really good things happen. So he's not resisting it, and he's not also turning around and trying to grab the comb like a kitten would. He's more interested in the tuna. So that's how he learns to be kind of calm and tolerant, you know, to the combing and to the brushing. Now the second thing is having the right tool. So, yes, we're going to put some of your fur there.
That's
so
all right.
Dirty outside.
We'll vacuum.
This is a metal flea comb. Now, it's got to be metal. Plastic combs, they just build up static electricity. And, you know, this is not really that outlined in your cat care books and stuff. But so you can buy, like, you know, a plastic flea comb, and they don't do anything. And it just gets kind of frustrating for both you and the cat. So a metal flea comb, and the flea comb's nice not only for finding fleas, but as close as the tines are set, you know, as you go through the cat's fur, it really gets a lot of that dead fur out, even on a short-haired cat. And then the other product that works well for a lot of cats, if not a comb like this is one of the newer type of, I don't want to use the word rake, but basically it's sort of like a rake comb. And this is useful for both dogs and cats. And again, as you comb through them, it really gets a lot of that deep fur out. Now the brushes that look kind of almost like a human hairbrush, you know, with the soft side bristles on one side, they frankly just skim over the top of the cat's fur and they don't get much out. And then with those longer, you know, metal teeth, they also don't really get much of the hair out. So when it comes to cats, I recommend using, you know, this type of a tool, thank you, or a metal flea comb. And that could be, and, you know, giving, you know, and for cats too, the more you work on the body, then they kind of get, and they may then want to pounce. So then they associate grooming with pouncing and grabbing. So what you do is you just kind of stroke once or twice, and you say, okay, that's what I'm going to do for now.
Now, Dr. Foote, it's very common for people to plop their dog into a bathtub and give them a bath or squirt them off with a hose, but cats might be a different story.
Oh, yes.
Do you bathe them? Should you bathe them?
Okay, yeah. So typically, excuse me, typically you usually do not need to bathe your cat just because the cat grooms themselves so much. They don't have as much accumulation, say, of dirt. And because of that grooming from the cat, we do not see as much of like flaky, skin problems that we do see in the dog. But occasionally your cat may need a bath because just if they may have rolled in something, or maybe they are ill and they have loose stool and they soil themselves and I got to clean up, the back end. So how to make it easiest for your cat, right? It's all about think about the cat. So do not plunk them in any kind of a tub or sink full of fluid. The most scariest thing in the world for the cat. They're going to climb out, they're going to be scrambling. Their heart rate soars up to like 220 beats per minute. I've seen some cats even pass out from that. Please don't do that. So what do? So what you want to do is, actually what I do is, and I'll tell clients to do, is get like a bowl, maybe something even like that little bowl on the shelf there, fill it with warm water, or even actually like a squeeze bottle, fill it with the warm water and then like one with warm water to get them wet, fill the same kind of bottle with diluted soap. So you can put that on them to lather them up, and then again a similar kind of bottle or bowl where you just pour that over them gently, because then you avoid that startle. It's the startling of the psh, the sprayer, or the startle of being dropped in the tub. You can give the cat a little food reward, and most of them are going to be like, I don't want it right now. Okay, but at least as long as they're not struggling or scrambling. And then when you're done, just toweling them dry. Now some cats might tolerate a hair dryer, most will not. That they have to be socialized to as a kitten. So just towel your cat dry. They're gonna be fine. They're not gonna catch cold, and that's how you take care of bathing a cat.
Just don't plunk them. That's the big thing.
No plunking.
You can also take care of their teeth. That's important.
Yes, tooth care, dental care is important for the cat. So most of even the pet toothbrushes, it's difficult to find one that's really small enough for many cats to want, for you to put in their mouth. So another solution that I use often is I'll just take a regular Q-tip, just a good old-fashioned, cotton tip swab, and then you can dip this in water. There are also different like dental solutions, that help with gingivitis, and that's fairly common in the cat. So some tips that you want to do is, or even to first get them used to this, you can dip it in tuna water, like the water from canned tuna. So now it tastes good, but do not hold your cat's mouth open. Don't do all that. And this is how I would have a cat position. Right in my lap. I'd elevate his little head and just use the tip of the Q-tip to elevate your little lips and swab over the teeth and gums like so.
I think Ranger's had this done before.
Yes, he has. Okay, I'm going to come around this side too. I know. And I'm going to go around. I know. I don't have your tuna on here, do I? So we're going to swab over this way, and then we're done. Okay. And then give him a minute or two on your lap, just to be calm and relaxed. Okay. And if you do this periodically, like at least once a week, maybe a couple times, a week, it'll help to keep their teeth clean, and help prevent dental problems.
Best to start when they're
young.
Kitten?
Yeah. The show cats, if you've ever been to a cat show, people are amazed at how they just lay there and they're getting a bath and they're getting their hair dried. People are combing them all over. They may be cleaning their teeth like that, brushing their teeth, and this show cat's just like, yeah, it's fine. And the reason why is because these people who do cat shows start with the kitten at 6-7 weeks of age, already bathing them, already brushing them, so the kitten is used to this, and that's why they accept it so well. So if we take a lead from our show cats,
and they probably had lots of tuna too.
Yes, they did. Right? They made it. This is nice for you.
So if we take lead from our show cats, start them early.
Yes, exactly.
Dr. Foote, thank you so much for this Paw Report Extra, talking about grooming your cats at home. Yes. Good pointers. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Paw Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com. Additional support for the Paw Report on WEIU is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.